Christopher Dean, nice to see you again. I guess before we get into tonight, Chris, there may be some of our viewers who still aren't sure of all these different programs in figure skating. Tonight it's the short one.
That's right, the short, which counts for 20% of the mark, combined with the compulsory figures, which happened yesterday. Total together, that'll be 50%. And then after that is the long program, which is the big event, which it will be on Saturday night, and that'll be 50% of the marks too.
And that's where you get to do your own thing. Now, the compulsories, which people find a little tedious, and we haven't even shown them, there was talk of them even being chopped out, Jane.
Yes, I think really the main reason for that was actually from a media point of view, for covering them, and also for how long they took. They take so long to get through all the figures. It lasts for like 7 hours. It was yesterday, and it's really too long for people to be in the ring, the judges, etc. But having said that, they are the basis of all skating, and there's also a movement, you know, that wants to keep them in.
All right, well, in a moment we'll be seeing Australia's big hope in the men's figure skating, Cameron Medhurst of Melbourne, but there are a big three that he's going to have to battle, and one of them, leading after the compulsories, Alexander Fadeev. This little Russian, who toured Australia with Torvill and Dean, knows just what it's like to lead a competition. His problem has been staying out in front. At the last 2 World Championships, after the compulsories and short programs, he'd simply bolted away from his opponents, only to falter when it came down to the nitty-gritty, the long program. Alexander, who began skating at the age of 7, has a history of leg injuries, but his footwork is as fast as anybody in the sport. Canada's Brian Orser, the reigning world champ, has gone on record as saying he thinks Fadeev lacks in style. So, even though he leads the competition coming into tonight's short program, for Alexander, there's still a long way to go. He has this man breathing down his neck, America's Brian Boitano, who dethroned him when he took Fadeev's world title back in 1986. Boitano grew up in Sunnydale, California. Ice isn't what you'd call a common commodity in that part of the world, and as a kid, Brian's passion was roller skating down the sidewalk. His increasingly daring jumps and turns so alarmed the neighbours, though, that they persuaded Brian's parents to have him taught ice skating at the local rink. His technical ability is without equal. His specialty, the quadruple toe loop, with its 4 dazzling revolutions in the air. Brian Boitano, whose arch rival is a Brian too. Yes, this Brian is Brian Orser, the world's #1, the reigning world champ, and while he's lying just 3rd coming into tonight's short program, he has no real cause for alarm. This Canadian national hero, a tiny guy who began skating when he was just 5 years old, excels in the most important section of the event, the long program, which is worth 50% of the score. Orser is a dazzling mix of artistry and athleticism, his high-flying jumps and articulated steps bringing audiences to their feet. Early on in his career, Orser's one problem was his mental approach, and even tonight he's still likely to be back there getting ready, listening to his favourite motivational tape, one titled, "Willpower is more important than talent." And with a capacity crowd of 6,500 right behind him here at the Corral tonight, Brian Orser certainly has plenty on his side. First up tonight, though, the pride of Melbourne, Australia, currently lying 18th in the competition, Cameron Medhurst.
Double axel. Cameron jumps to the right, which suggests he's a left-handed person. He has a lovely style. He's a very smooth skater. One of the best spins of the night so far too. That was difficult. Most people put their triple jump first and then their double jump second, and he did it in the reverse order, which is a higher degree of difficulty, which is good in this element because the more difficult it is, the higher the mark.
So Australia's Cameron Medhurst certainly not afraid to take risks in this, the short program of the men's figure skating here tonight at the Calgary Corral. Gee, that was great stuff there tonight from Australia's Cameron Medhurst. Jayne Torvill, he didn't put a foot wrong.
He should be well pleased with that performance. He certainly skated very well. That's the best short program we've seen so far this evening.
It was a great performance. He looked like he was enjoying it out there. Lots of smiles. It was a really safe, good short program.
And doesn't he look happy? And there's our skating commentators, Jayne and Chris, looking almost as happy as Australia's Cameron Medhurst, a college student from Melbourne. Have a go. Good on you, Cameron. Well done.
This is the footwork section. They have to do a straight line along the ice of complicated footwork.
Cameron, who began as a skater back in 1973, what happened, Jayne? His family took him to the movies and the projectionists were on strike. There was no movies. They went next door to a restaurant. Down below the restaurant was a skating rink. He said, hey, I'd like to try that. And he took up skating.
Well, that was lucky for him.
4.9, 4.8, 4.9, 5.0, 5.9, 5.0, 4.9, 5.9, 5.0. The number presentation marks for presentation. 5.2, 5.0, 5.1,
Good set of marks.
5.2, 5.1, 5.0, 4.8, 4.9, 5.0, 5.2, 5.0.
Have you ever seen a happier young man, the age of 22, than Cameron Medhurst? And that has taken him at this stage up into second place in this, the short program for the men's figure skating at the Winter Olympic Games. And as Cameron leaves the ice, out comes Neil Paterson of Canada to a huge reception. His music's going to be interesting by Jethro Tull and the Royal Philharmonic, Fly By Night and Thick as a Brick. And there he is, a huge cheer, of course, from the capacity 6,500 crowd here at the Calgary Corral tonight for one of their boys, Neil Paterson. And a fairly dramatic performance.
Yeah, it was a nice save program. I didn't know what he was going to do at the end there. I thought he was going to take out the barrier.
It was a strange ending. He just took a step towards the judges.
Was it the judges? I thought he might have been looking for the camera. He certainly had something in mind.
Maybe that was it.
The Calgary Corral, scene tonight of the short program in the men's figure skating, was built back in 1950. It's normally the venue for cultural events, and when the Cowboys are in town for the indoor rodeo. Tonight, these are the Cowboys in the tight pants, the boys in the men's short program, chasing that gold medal for figure skating at this 15th Winter Olympiad.
And then I thought, oh, I have to do the next part right. Yeah.
Lars Dresler, president of the team. 5.2, 5.1. Une autre présentation, our presentation, 5.2, 5.1, 5.2, 5.0, 5.2, 5.2, 5.3, 5.2.
Neil Paterson of Canada, and here at the Calgary Corral, we'll be back with more of the men's short program in just a moment. The short program, the men's figure skating tonight here at the 15th Winter Olympics. Next up from Blackpool in Britain, Paul Robinson.
Not a great start. Paul's one of those skaters who's either really on or is really off, so I hope that's not the sign of the rest of the program.
Just how do you pick yourself up after that, Jayne? You're at the Olympic Games, and the first 20 seconds crash down on your backside.
It's very hard, especially in this portion of the competition, because everyone has to do these 7 elements and they're judged on them, and they take off an awful lot of points if you miss one of them.
Well, the judges are looking on for the spins or centering them and that they don't travel, so once they're spinning they stay on the spot.
Robinson, the British singles champion, 1986-1987, after suffering the indignity of coming to grips with the Calgary Corral ice early on, knuckled down to the job. Not a bad performance.
Yeah, just a bit of a shaky start, but warmed into it.
Actually, he was lying in front of Cameron before this stage of competition, so because he made that mistake, it's likely that Cameron will overtake him.
Marks for Paul Robbins, for required answers in only key. 4.3, 4.1, 4.5, 4.4, 4.4, 4.2, 4.4, 4.3, 4.3. 4.3, 4.1, 4.5, 4.5, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, Et donc, votre présentation, Archer presentation, 5.0, 4.8, 5.1, 5.1.
And Jayne Torvill, you were spot on after that performance. Paul Robertson does drop back behind Cameron Medhurst. Australia's Cameron Medhurst at this stage of the competition is running second. Of course, the two Bryans, Orser and Boitano, Alexander Fadeev, and quite a few other big names to come. Right now on the ice, though, from Czechoslovakia, Petr Barna, and he'll be skating to music from Amadeus. Czechoslovakia, whose parents will be amongst the 2 billion viewers around the world watching tonight, because they won't even go and watch him skate back home in Prague. They get too nervous. Your parents ever like that?
No, my parents always came to watch.
They enjoy watching. They tend to stay in the background, but I think they enjoy being there.
It was a very cute program, actually. The audience were enjoying it, especially when he skated really close to them.
Yes, he's an accomplished skater, obviously, Petr Barna. He says the one thing he doesn't like about skating is all the travel, because he doesn't like flying. He's bothered by the landings.
Oh.
He seemed to land all right here tonight at the Corral anyway.
He did actually miss his combination jump, so he will lose marks for that.
Marks for Petr Barna for required time is on 4.6, 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, 4.7, 4.8, 4.9, 4.8, 4.9. 4.6, 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, 4.7, 4.8, 4.9, 4.7, 4.8, 4.9, 4.8, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.8, 4.9, 4.8, 4.9. Et donc, pour présentation, our presentation, 5.3, 5.3, 5.3, 5.5, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, 5.4, 5.3, 5.3, 5.3, 5.3, 5.5, 5.3, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, 5.4,
And now, on the ice, one of the tallest figure skaters I think we'll see in many a moon, and looking rather taller. He looks actually like the man on the stilts at the Royal Easter Show, doesn't he? Michael Huth of East Germany. Quite an outfit, Chris.
Is that bad, or he's just come straight from bed?
I think he's got his pajamas on.
Actually, we were watching this boy in practice, and when he lands his jumps, he has a beautiful takeoff and landing. It's very quiet, very silent, and what he's able to do, he doesn't land on the front of his skate. A lot of boys tend to use that toe rake part, the teeth part in the front, but he has a lovely landing.
He's 18 years of age, and he's a real beanstalk, and his name is Michael Huth from East Germany.
Having said that, he landed right on his toe rake.
He's nervous, obviously.
You don't worry about that in this business. Remember last year saying how well a fighter was going. But 3 seconds later, he was knocked out stone cold.
Really nervous tonight because all these jumps he's really messing up.
Michael Huth, age 18, from Dresden. A student making his first appearance, pretty obviously, in the Winter Olympic Games.
I think he'd be a little bit disappointed with that. In the practice in the week, he's been landing all his jumps perfectly, and there you go on the night. Doesn't come off.
We see plenty of great Russian figure skaters, of course. How about the East Germans?
They have been dominant in pair skating up until 1984, and then they seem to drop out of the scene. But of course, there's Katarina Witt to come later on in the week, the East German lady. But there's actually no dancers.
They've never had a dance pair as far as we've been competing.
Marks for required elements in on-board is elementary. 4.1, 3.8, 4.6, 4.4, 4.1, 4.3, 4.0, 3.6, 4.4. 4.1, 4.8, 4.6, 4.4, 4.1, 4.3, 4.0, 3.6, 4.4.
Bit of a disparity here, 3.6 to 4.6, a whole mark. I think somebody got it wrong there.
He would lose a lot of marks though, because so far he's the only boy that's missed about 3 of the elements.
Okay, there he is, Michael Huth. I hope you're enjoying this 15th Winter Olympiad as we pick up his presentation points. I hope you're enjoying the short program in the men's figure skating here at the Calgary Corral tonight, where we'll be back in just a moment to catch up at these Winter Games with the ladies downhill and Mark Warren. With a short program in the men's figure skating. This young man from Milano in Italy, Alessandro Riccitelli.
very cruel thing when these skaters have been working all year round, performing these jumps, perfecting them, getting them right, and then the one slip on the night when it really counts.
It must be tough, mustn't it, to come out there, as you say, in the first few seconds and fall slap bang on your Italian dressing. However, with the music from Cabaret kicking along, we'll see if Alessandro can pick it up.
First boy that's been out there that's enjoying his skating now.
Yes, well, they're a very colourful, extroverted and happy race of people. Jane, the Italians, there's no reason why they shouldn't be good skaters.
Yeah. We've often trained with a group of Italians in Germany, and they're very noisy people all the time.
By your continually tiny build, it's apparent you don't spend a great deal of the restaurants with them. Alessandro Riccitelli, 23 years of age, the pride of Italy, here tonight at the 15th Winter Olympics. And they are his...
They're his skate guards. They protect his blades when he's walking off the ice.
He may be superstitious, actually, and always put them on the ice when he's skating.
We will have a few silly superstitions.
Ah, such as?
I don't know which foot you have to step onto the ice first, which boot you have to put on when you're lacing it up. There's lots of those things that you have to do, maybe out of routine, but you try not to break it.
What about Torvill and Dean?
But he means himself. He's talking about himself.
There are a few of mine.
What happens, and I got to ask the question, I mean, everybody eventually has an argument, a difference of opinion. It might be over what you have for dinner, it might be about, you know, who was late to come and get the taxi. I mean, how do you handle it when you go out the ice and you have had, shall we say, at least a minor kerfuffle?
Well, you certainly wouldn't have one before a competition anyway.
No, everyone's on their best behaviour.
The only time that sort of happens is rehearsal time, and if you're professional, the minute you hit the ice, everything else before has been cut off. It's work period then. You're out there to do the ice skating and not carry anything onto the ice. And that's what these boys would be doing tonight. The minute they hit the ice, they're conditioned to go out there and just concentrate on what they've got to do.
And there are the gold medalists from the pairs. You just saw Katerina Godeva and Sergei Grinkov here tonight to watch the short program in the men's figure skating. And there he is from Italy, Alessandro Riccitelli. And there are the two Brians themselves, Brian Orser and Brian Boitano, backstage as they wait to come out for this short program in the 15th Winter Olympics. And I guess, will they make it 1-2? Can Alexander Fadeev upset the apple cart?
It's going to be an interesting competition. You know, any one of those three could come out and do something wonderful, or one of them make a mistake and it will upset the whole, well, not upset, but the placement between the three would vary greatly. It's going to be a really exciting competition, I think, because these two boys are so evenly matched. They do the same jumps. It's just a question of style, whereas Brian Boitano has a nice sort of classical line. Brian Orser is sort of more bouncy.
He's bouncing around like a fighter. I'm waiting for him to come out for a 12-rounder.
Brian's having a bit of a yawn.
He looks very relaxed, actually. I guess that's just the type of person he is, and Brian also looks very nervous.
I gather he's just about one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet, Brian Boitano.
Yeah, he's a very friendly, easygoing person. I think he's very sensible, too.
And as we leave the two Bryans in the dressing room, out comes another American, Christopher Bowman from Hollywood, California. Fairly dynamic performer, I understand, Chris.
He's an exciting skater, popular in America, especially with the girls. And he's a very good skater. At Nationals, he placed second, American Nationals.
Performance that will almost certainly take him up to the top of the table right now. Christopher Bowman from Los Angeles, California. I see Jayne Torvill, that he used to suffer from hyperactivity when he was a kid. He's still fairly lively.
He's definitely lively, and he's certainly woken the audience up here tonight. It's nice to see someone go out and really give everything. He's in a good position to do that. There's no pressure on him like there is on Boitano, so he can really go out and enjoy himself.
Christopher Bowman, obviously a character who really knows how to work a camera too. He had a bit of bad luck last summer. He had trouble with his ankle, put on a lot of weight, so he started wearing an earring, a punk haircut, and followed the Grateful Dead on their tour. He's obviously settled down at least a little. But a great performance from him here tonight, and it brought the house down. Yes, those marks taking Christopher Bowman deservedly to the top of the competition. Of course, the two Bryans, Boitano and Orser, still to come, and the leader after the compulsory is Alexander Fadeev. But as you say, Jane, he really lit the place up, didn't he?
He certainly did. Yes.
And he has warmed it up for a fellow countryman from Dallas, Texas, Paul Wylie, about to come out onto the ice. Paul is a student at Harvard. He's the 1981 World Junior Champion too.
This is the first time Paul Wylie's made the team for World Championships, and just happens to be an Olympic year as well, so extra excitement for him.
Nice start. It's nice to see him on the team. He's been skating such a long time and just missed the team in the last 4 years. It's nice to see him for the first time here. I think watching Paul, he has one of the best line of all the men. He has nice straight legs, good turnout, and good presentation. Great performance from Paul.
Yes, first Christopher Bowman and now Paul Wylie. Have a look at him, how happy he is. The Americans just dazzling the huge crowd here at the Calgary Corral tonight. Paul Wylie, a member of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and his prayers were certainly answered out there tonight. Well, Jayne Torvill, I don't know how they were thinking of leaving him off the team.
No, apparently he's just been unlucky in the last years. He's either placed, mostly he's placed 5th, a couple of times 4th. This year he's made the team, and as I said before, he's made it in the right year because he gets to go to the Olympics as well as the World Championships.
He's had a problem of consistency on the night, but today he certainly performed extremely well.
Marks for Paul and Wylie for required elements. They not to hold the city number 5.5, 5.4, 5.5, 5.5, 5.4, 5.5, 5.5, 5.4, Good. Marks for presentation. Enough collected on that circle.
Great set of marks.
And those marks taking Paul Wylie up to second in the competition. He now shares the lead, certainly here tonight, with his fellow countryman Chris Bowman. Australia's Cameron Medhurst is back in 5th position. We'll be back with more of the men's short program, including the two Bryans and Alexander Fadeev later on this evening. But right now we're crossing to another form of skating, speed skating, where Australia's big hope at the Olympic Oval is Mike Richmond. Back with more in a moment. Tonight, the short program in the men's figure skating from West Germany, the city of Cologne, Richard Zander.
There on that jump because he actually put a turn in between. Really, he should have taken off straight away after landing the first jump, so he'll lose marks there.
He's a big fellow. He's pushing 6 foot. Is that a disadvantage?
I think sometimes it is, yes.
It's a longer way to fall down.
strains of Malagana, a very popular piece of music with skaters. A fairly colourfully dressed Richard Zander completes his program. How did he do, Jane?
Not too bad. The landing of his double axel wasn't too clean either, apart from the fault he made on the first combination jump. So I think they'll take points off for that too. I certainly don't think he'll get as good marks as the two American boys who've got before him.
So he lands there and he has to put a 3-turn in, and then he takes off for the next jump.
5.1, 4.6, 5.0, 5.1, 4.8, 4.7, 4.9, 4.9, 4.8. Marks for presentation. Les notes pour la présentation. 5.5.
Well, there he is, big Richard Zander
5.2.
from Cologne in West Germany. I guess hoping to have done a little better.
5.2.
And our next competitor, certainly making his first appearance in the Winter Olympic Games at the ripe old age of 17. From France, Axel Mederic.
It's a nice combination jump.
Wonderfully supple and fluid young man, Axel Mederic from France, making his first appearance at the age of 17 in the Winter Olympics. And Chris, you certainly wouldn't have known it.
No, he was very confident out there, wasn't he?
He gave a very sure performance, and he did all the elements, so he should be very pleased with that.
That's the first time I've seen him skate, and I'm really impressed.
Yes, he certainly didn't seem to show any nerves, and obviously he'll be skating in quite a few more Winter Olympics on that form tonight.
He's done extremely well to be in this high group as well, as it's his first Olympics.
He looks as though he might have a future in your old event. Oh, I shouldn't say old event, old Olympic event. He looks like a dancer, doesn't he? He's a beautiful athlete.
Yes, it'd be interesting to see how he'd fare.
Why do you say that?
Putting him with a girl as a partner.
The magic moments of the Winter Olympic Games coming to you right around Australia. Christopher Dean, Jayne Torvill, and the straight man. Yours truly.
His coach there, Christophe Simon, competed in many World Championships and Olympics.
5.3, 5.2, 5.3, 5.3,
Nice marks there to that 17-year-old Frenchman, Axel Mederic. Don't forget the two Bryans yet to come, and the leader after the compulsories, Alexander Fadeev, still to come in this, the men's short program in the figure skating at the 15th Winter Games, where we'll be back with more in just a moment. Welcome back to the Calgary Corral. The capacity crowd here tonight, 6,500, watching the men's short program. And on the ice from Denmark, Lars Dresler. At the age of 20, already 5 times the Danish national champion, Lars Dresler. And but these guys make me sick, actually. I mean, there's not an ounce of fat on any of them. How hard do they train?
Well, depending on the individuals. Lars was in Germany in the summertime, and he'd be putting like 4 to 5 hours of skating in a day. And some of that would obviously be the figure element, which is when you get up early in the morning and trace circles around the ice. So that's not that physical, but this certainly is.
What about gym work or other work? I mean, is it all on ice, or you do a lot of work away from the ice?
Some of the skaters do. Some of the boys will do conditioning training, mainly sort of cardiovascular, to keep the heart rate up.
Pair skaters that do weight training. The single skaters tend probably to do, as Chris said, more like running and cardiovascular things.
At this stage of the program, Jane, the standard seems rather higher to me than in the pairs the other night, leaving aside the first 3 or 4 in the pairs.
Yes, certainly the last 2 group of men in this competition are all sort of really high standard.
And it remains to be seen whether the gold medal favourites try that quadruple toe loop. Do you think they will?
It sounds like they're not going to try it in this event. The problem is that they concentrate. If they start doing the full rotations, it puts the rest of their jumps off.
Lars Dresler there from Copenhagen in Denmark. And talking about training, a young man now who trains about 20 hours a week from Switzerland, where he has been the top skater since he was 12 years of age, now age 21, Oliver Höner.
past that jump there, and that's the easiest jump of all of them.
From Zurich, Switzerland's #1 men's figure skater Oliver Höner. In this, the short program in the men's figure skating program at this stage, led by the two Americans, Christopher Bowman and Paul Wylie, Australia's Cameron Medhurst, having dropped back to 8th position. And the excitement certainly mounting here in the corral, as very shortly we'll be seeing the reigning world champion Brian Orser of Canada, the former world champion Brian Boitano of the United States, and the man who led after the compulsories, himself a former world champion, Alexander Fadeev of Russia. Right now the man in camera is Oliver Höner of Switzerland.
Marks for Oliver Höner for required elements. Pour les éléments requis pour s'y éteindre. 5.3, 5.2, 5.1, 5.3, 5.3, 5.1, 5.0, 5.0, 5.1, 5.3, 5.2, 5.1, 5.3, 5.3, 5.1, 5.0, 5.0, 5.1. Marks for presentation. Les notes pour la présentation. 5.4, 5.2.
And there they are, the marks for Oliver Höner of Switzerland. I hope you're enjoying these 15th Winter Olympic Games, the short program of the men's figure skating. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Going up now for one of Canada's favourites, Kurt Browning. He's the #2 skater in this country behind the world champ Brian Orser, and he will be performing to Tequila by Los Lobos.
First triple axel of the night, followed by the double loop combination. This is what both Brians will be doing also, as well as 4 other competitors in the top group. The triple axel is one of the really difficult jumps to do because it's 3.5 revolutions, taking off from a forward outside edge.
Kurt Browning also looking as though he's having a lot of fun out there, Jane.
Yeah, he looks like he's enjoying it. I think because the crowd's behind him, giving him a lot of confidence too.
He's one of the skaters that's got nothing to lose by going out there and really enjoying tonight.
His tailor has certainly had a wild old time anyway. Very dashing and flashing in that scarlet outfit with the gold trimming.
Very nice jump.
The top mark so far.
And he's brought the house down. The Canucks have gone crazy. Kurt Browning, their number 2 skater. Their number 1 skater, Brian Orser, the reigning world champ, will follow him out, but he won't get a much bigger cheer than this.
Putting the pressure on all the other boys in the top group now.
Kurt Browning, who comes from a fairly active family. His dad leads camping expeditions, I should say, on horseback around the Rocky Mountains here in Calgary. And Kurt Browning, as I said, showing plenty of activity out there himself tonight.
He certainly jumps very high.
Marks for Kurt Browning.
Marks for presentation. Les dates pour la présentation. 5.6, 5.4, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.4, 5.6, 5.5, 5.6.
And now look out, because you're about to hear a cheer that might just blow you out of your lounge rooms. Even right back there in Australia. This is Canada's national hero, the reigning world champion, Brian Orser. And Christopher Dean, what can we expect from him here tonight?
Well, I think Brian is a very consistent skater. We're all hoping that he does his best that he can tonight. There's a lot of nervous people both sides of the barrier, I think.
Well, I don't know how Brian's feeling right now, but I certainly feel nervous.
I think he can enjoy the rest of the performance now that Axel's out the way.
6,500 fans stand and cheer their national hero here at the Calgary Corral. You have just seen why that man, Brian Orser, is the reigning world men's figure skating champion. Gee, that gave me a chill.
Yeah, that was a wonderful performance. His jumps were absolutely magnificent. He'll certainly be relieved that that's over with and he can concentrate now on the long program.
I find it hard to believe that he ever suffered from nerves. He apparently did. Consulted a sports psychologist and has a lot of motivational tapes he listens to. They obviously work for him.
Obviously. This is that triple axel coming up now into the combination, the double loop.
Well, Brian Boitano certainly got to perform all his elements perfectly now to be able to have a chance of remaining in front of Brian Orser.
Yes, coming into tonight's short program after the compulsories, Alexander Fadeev from Russia led the competition. Brian Boitano lay second, and that man there, Brian Orser, was third. Be surprised if he's still third, as you say, Jane, after tonight.
Yes, I'm sure he'll move up. It's a question of how many places.
It's interesting to look at the marks. There's certainly room being left for Brian Boitano, but those marks are great.
Brian Orser looking fairly cool, calm and collected, and what he may well have collected is a gold medal, because the long program still to come. By G skated well tonight. And there he goes, the pride of Canada, the reigning world champion Brian Orser, whose arch rivals Alexander Fadeev and Brian Boitano of the United States will be skating here at the Calgary Corral a little later on tonight. In a few moments, though, we'll be rejoining Darryl Eastlake trackside at the Olympic Oval for the men's 1,000 metres speed skating. I hope you're enjoying the 15th Winter Olympic Games on Nine's Wide World of Sports. Welcome back to the Calgary Corral, where the man who led after the compulsories is this young fella from Russia, Alexander Fadeev.
Well, that's disappointing. That was the triple axel there that he fell off. He'll lose points for that. Alexander Fadeev, the former world champion,
chasing the leader here tonight at the Calgary Corral, the reigning world champ Brian Orser. Alexander toured Australia with you, Jayne and Chris, when you first turned pro, I remember.
Yes, he was on the first tour that we did in Australia. The Russian Olympic team came down and also did exhibitions with us. He'll be disappointed with that because he knows he'll lose marks for missing that combination jump. And he's certainly going to be overtaken by Brian Orser now.
It must be very tough to know that you can do those figures, to know that you will be an early leader, and then realise you've got these two great skaters. Brian Orser, we saw earlier this evening, Brian Boitano coming up shortly, just sitting there behind you, breathing down your collar.
That's right. There's such competition in the men's event right now that you have to be strong in all elements. So you can't sort of rely on one particular area to win.
You can see the marks he's got there are really quite low compared with the others in this group.
Les noms pour présentation. Marks for presentation. 5.8, 5.8, 5.8, 5.9.
A couple of high marks there, the Russian and the Swiss.
5.8, 5.6, 5.8.
And a man, obviously, with a lot on his mind now after that magnificent performance earlier this evening by his arch rival Brian Orser. From the United States, this is Brian Boitano.
That was great. He'll be happy now. He's got that out of the way.
Brian's really found a style that really suits him now. In the past, he's used rather very upbeat music that's not really been characteristic of him. That was great. That was really, really good.
Well, that was the best program for me.
For me too.
I love his interpretation of the music.
I was watching both of you, watching Brian Boitano, and you seem to enjoy it almost as much as he did.
I was really nervous for him. I really wanted him to skate well.
It's such a well thought out short program. I think it's one of the best short programs I've seen in competition. Well done, Brian.
Brian Orser, I guess a lot more movement. Brian Boitano, a classically dramatic performance, and as you said, just an excellent choice of music.
In his nationals, he actually got perfect scores for that program, so it'll be interesting to see the marks now.
Brian Boitano, who lost his world title in 1987 to Brian Orser, certainly proving tonight that He's Brian Orser's main threat in this battle for Olympic gold here in the men's figure skating.
Very tastefully thought out, and the costuming, the choreography, and the music, La Patineur, everything was just right.
It was Damon Runyon who once said, it's hard to define class, but when you see it, you know it. And
I think we saw it tonight.
Well, he's beaten Brian Orser on those already.
5.9, 5.8, 5.8,
And with those marks, Brian Boitano has gone to the top of the competition, overtaking the reigning world champ Brian Orser in what is shaping up as a dramatic battle between the two Brians, as predicted, for the gold medal in the men's figure skating here at the Winter Olympic Games, where we will be back with more, much more in just a moment. Welcome back to the Calgary Corral. Tonight, the short program in the men's figure skating from Russia, Viktor Petrenko.
I think this boy is going to be the boy that takes over Fadeev's crown, the Russian crown, eventually. He has a lovely style, very strong skater.
The young man who says he's always been a great fan of your fellow countryman, Robin Cousins. You see anything of Robin Cousins there?
Yes, in his athleticism and his jumps, strong jumps.
And as those marks come up for young Viktor Petrenko, as the competition stands, it is Brian Boitano leading his arch rival Brian Orser. The two Brians, almost as famous as our two Brians, Brian Henderson and Brian Naylor, our newsreaders on the National 9 network, and I'm sure they'll be joining you and just about everybody else right around Australia on Sunday night when the two Brians, Boitano and Orser, come out for this dramatic battle for the gold medal in the men's figure skating. Thank you very much for being with us again tonight, Jayne and Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a great evening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't go away. The action's continuing, though, because in a moment we'll be crossing out to the hockey. Sweden